Um, Welcome. This would have been a slightly more serious video if my computer had not gone into the blue screen of death. But we're here now, and I can't solve this. Is it solved? It's solved. I'm just gonna wait for some people to pile up. It seems as though I'm very quickly losing popularity, because all my shit just keeps breaking. Um, I think I'm the only one who's online right now, but if anyone else is online, please let me know if the sound is working, if you can see me, if I'm glitching out, how are things? Hi Ryan, welcome to the chat, uh, and welcome to a new Sunday. I guess this is my Christmas stream. Hi Ahmed and hi Rory, the Swagger Husky 1988. I'm good. I've just been panicking all morning because my computer has constantly gotten the blue screen of death and it's like driving me insane. Hi Bible Belt Atheist. Hi Junk Shop Library. Welcome. I've been like stressing for the last 2 hours because my computer has constantly like rebooted itself saying that it's got an error. I finally managed to open it in safe mode and fix it a little, so I think it's okay. But while I was waiting, I was like stress making up my face, so I'm looking a little weird today. But I was gonna make this a slightly more serious live stream, but since I've just been stressing for like I want to say the last 2 hours, I'm just going to relax. I collected some questions from Twitter, and if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to answer them. Just leave them in the chat. And don't forget to like and subscribe, comment down below, do what you have to do. Everything is, everything is in the description if you want it. And if you're looking for any links to my other stuff, to my other social medias, to anything else, look for it in the description. And I'm sure the mods with the little wrenches in the chat will also link things as I go on. Obviously they don't have to, it's just a thing that they may do. So I collected a few questions yesterday and the day before for this live stream. All right, well, I'll address Ryan's question first. Do I consider myself an anti-theist? No, I do not. There are quite a few people within our circle who consider themselves anti-theists. I'm not one of them. And the reason for that is purely anecdotal. It's purely sentimental. It's very emotional. It's because my mother was religious, and my mother, for those of you who don't know, died from cancer. And while I do think that religion hindered her from making the fullest use of her final days, I do think that religion was a huge item for her comfort. I do think that religion, for most people, is a thing that people hold on to for comfort. It's a way to shirk off the finality of death, the fear of death. And I get that. I fully understand that. I think that all of us as human beings hold our own delusions. And I just find it cruel to take that away from people. I don't think that religion realistically is going away anywhere, and I certainly don't want to steal it from people who want to be religious. However, I don't believe that religion should be part of our political systems. I don't think that it should be incorporated, like instilled into our schooling systems. But yeah, that's what I think in terms of religion. I don't necessarily think that religion shouldn't be taught. I think it should be taught, but I do think that it should be taught in a more sort of liberal way, the same way that history and mythology is taught. So not taught as an absolute truth, but as an option, as a thing that people believe. And I don't believe in faith schools and things like that. I do believe that religious institutions should be allowed to exist, so like churches and mosques and things like that, because it's just, I think it's beneficial to certain communities and things. But I do think that those institutions should be regulated by the government, and the government should be secular. That's what I feel about I feel like I went off topic a bit there, but I'm not, and I wouldn't consider myself an anti-theist because I don't believe in abolishing religion as a whole. Realistically, because I don't think it's going anywhere, and on a more sentimental level, because I don't think that it's, I don't think that it's fair to tell people that they shouldn't be allowed to believe in a religion just because you believe it's false, you know? Um, but moving on to some Twitter questions from Acute Us Sinner, if she's watching. Um, she asked me to talk about taking the hijab off, and I've made quite a few videos about the hijab. I think there's like 4 or 5 videos on my channel about the hijab, and 1 or 2 about me discussing taking off the hijab. And what I want to say about the hijab and taking it off is that take your time. No one's rushing you. No one's saying that you have to take it off immediately as soon as you leave religion. It's something that is, for most of us who are born into it, and sort of we were, put into a hijab as children, it's very much a psychological thing as it is a physical thing. I remember one of the first things that I felt as soon as I decided to take it off completely was that everyone was staring at me and I was going to be attacked. And that kind of energy just draws the weirdest people. I actually was, I don't want to say sexually assaulted, but assaulted in a sexual manner, I guess, the first day that I took off my hijab. And it really sort of, I mean, I lived through it, clearly, but it was something that really scared me and made me think back to whether or not I should just start wearing it again. And I think it's definitely a state of mind. If you are thinking about taking off the hijab, you need to reconcile all of those feelings. You certainly need to experiment. I would say take it off in stages. So instead of, just taking it off completely, wear it loosely or try a few different styles before taking it off. I did a life hacks video about the hijab. You're more than welcome to watch that. There's a number of things that you can do before you decide to fully take it off. No one is rushing you. It is your choice to take it off completely or keep it on. Do what you're comfortable with. When it comes to your body, you only get one, and you should be the sole arbiter of how it is managed. I don't like the idea of people just saying, oh, you're not a Muslim anymore, so just take it off. It's not that simple. It certainly wasn't that simple for me. And I don't know at what stage you're wearing the hijab. So when I was wearing it, I was covering my face, I was covering my whole body. I was just a walking black mass. So I needed stages to take it off. I couldn't just, throw it all off and walk around as I do now. It was a process, and I definitely think that processes are more healthy than all or nothing living, which, I mean, I'm being a hypocrite here because I'm a very all or nothing person, but when it came to the hijab, I did take it off in stages. And I went through phases, and I think something else you'll realize about yourself after you take off the hijab is that you don't have a sense of style, and that's something that you'll have to gain over time. Like, one of the things that I was really terrible at was finding clothes that actually matched me as opposed to clothes that I just liked. So it's always helpful to, take your time and figure things out and not feel any pressure, wear what you want to wear. The second thing she asked was about trying alcohol and what types to buy. Now, I don't want to give away too much, but there's someone I know who's quite young, who recently tried alcohol, and she told me about it, and I was very grateful that she told me about it, because then it gave me a window of advising her. And I would say that alcohol is very tricky. It's very dangerous. In a sense, if you do it too much in one setting, especially if you're a novice and you're trying it by yourself and you're not in, a comfortable space. Any kind of recreational drug, which alcohol is, let's not forget, is dangerous. In any, in excess, in a dangerous situation. The first time I tried alcohol was with someone who was a seasoned alcoholic. While that's not the most fun way of trying something new. It was with someone who understood alcohol to an extent that he was over drinking it. The first drink I had was a spirit. It was sambuca, and I'm actually very proud of that. So I would really enjoy people not taking the piss out of that, because my first drink wasn't a beer or a cider, it was sambuca. Um, and the first thing that I will tell you about alcohol is the first time I had it, I full out panicked. I thought I was going to get drunk immediately. That's not how alcohol works. I think different people react to it very differently. And also, I would very much suggest that you try a beer or a cider or a cheerleader drink like Smirnoff Ice or WKD or something very, very light, because you won't know how to sort of manage alcohol until you try and sort of build yourself up. Alcohol obviously isn't a must. Many people who try it for the first time don't like it. It is kind of, it's a very strong flavor. It's a very strong flavor, and the way that it sort of tastes is might put you off, and that's fine. You don't have to drink alcohol, but if you would like to try it, I would say start with smaller spirits. Every single alcohol that you buy from the store will have a percentage on it. The lower the percentage, the more likely you'll be able to tolerate it. So after the first time I had a drink, which was with my alcoholic then boyfriend, who I later broke up with, myself and one of my friends who also didn't have a lot of experience drinking, I'm pretty sure that the first time she drank was when I drank with her. And she wasn't from a Muslim background. She's my best friend. She's Alicia. You've seen her on this channel. And one of the things that we tried was just going to a family diner and ordering their cocktails. And the reason, well, I would suggest that the reason we did it is because there were deals, like there were sales. But the reason I would suggest that it's a good idea is because most of the time in family diners, they'll water down the drinks, because it's a family diner. And the cocktails won't be as strong as, you know, if you went to a bar or a dive bar. So that's something that I would suggest. And I would say I don't like drinking outside of company. I'll only drink with friends or with people that I have a good time with. I don't like drinking when I'm upset or I'm sad, because I just think that it's a terrible habit to get into. But it's a journey for everyone. The first time you drink, do it in company. And as a little life hack for someone who wants to try alcohol and for someone who looks like they want to take off the hijab, the best place for you to be to take off your hijab, the safest possible place, is a pub, because you won't see your family members there. And even if you do, they won't be able to rat on you because they're in the pub as well. So when I was closeted and I was living with family and I was like taking off my hijab and I was experimenting with new styles, my safe havens were pubs. I used to spend a lot of time in pubs, not a lot of my time drinking, but a lot of my time in pubs, because it was somewhere that I could socialize without, you know, the fear of people in my community or people from my family seeing me. So that's just a nifty tip. And also, you know, don't just settle for the first pub. Pubs have different personalities. Sit with the one that you like. And I hope that was beneficial. I'll probably link you the live stream in case you don't catch it. But if you do, you're welcome. I'm just going to scroll into the chat for a second and see if there's any more questions. Dingo Jitsu says, bring back the red lips. See, I would love to, but I just bought myself a shitload, like a ton of lip glosses. Let me see if I can get them out. Because they were on sale. So I want to try some new colors. I know this color doesn't really suit me, and my face is looking very shiny because I'm wearing all the highlighters. But I am gonna bring back the red because I also bought some new reds. But like, I mean, how am I not gonna wear this pink? Let's look some more. Ahmed09 says hijab is very unhealthy for the scalp. I'm sure it is, but everybody has to take their time with it. It's just something that you have to grow out of, rather than something that you can just take off and throw in a garbage fire. It really is something that you need to process. Faraz Faruqi said, try a beer with a hijabi, it tastes way better. I'm not sure that that's true. I've definitely drank with a hijab on. It's just free yourself. Clothes are bullshit. So, yeah. We're going to move on to another Twitter question from Nymphia Violet. So Nymphia Violet, for those of you who don't know, his name is Dumb Baby, I think on YouTube. I need to find his account so I can link it. But he creates different kinds of music. He's been a long time supporter of my channel and of my content. He's been following me on Twitter for a really, really long time. And I really want to start using the music that he creates in the background of my videos. And I really want to support him and help him grow, so I'll be linking all his stuff in, the description and promoting him, because I really do believe that promoting, atheist creators, young creators, creators in our community is really, really important. Not because they're, not because they need it, but because I think that people in our circles are definitely underrepresented and they're not given a chance. Because I was talking about this a few days ago. I think that the majority of people, especially in the West, don't take religion seriously. And they shouldn't. It makes sense that they don't take it seriously, because people in the West are mostly Christian, or from like a Christian background. And it makes sense that they don't take religion seriously. But when it comes to a religion like Islam, which is completely invasive, in a sense parasitic, it becomes really difficult to convey to them how toxic a religion like that can be, especially since it's so big and so many people believe in it. So when someone like me, who wants to be just a general content creator, like I just want to make art, I just want to make videos, I just want to write stuff and write poems, when I talk about religion, because it's genuinely a part of my history, it just comes off as like rude or disrespectful. And I, as someone who is a content creator and, doesn't have the biggest following, but has a following, I think it's really important to promote people who, do the same thing and have the similar experiences and talk about similar stuff. I'm gonna try and find it, and once I do, I will link it below. But he asked if I could pick him up a cool singlet with something random written on it, because he loves those things from thrift stores. And this is reference to my last video. I did a thrift store haul. So I really like shopping from thrift stores, because I believe in reuse. I think that it's really, really important for people to reuse clothes. Like this top is from a thrift store, and honestly, like, it's really comfortable, so it's not going anywhere. But I think it's really, really important to reuse things, and I feel like there's a stigma with buying things from thrift stores or charity shops or secondhand things, and there really shouldn't be, because. So my gripe with buying new clothes is that I don't know where I stand with sweatshops and this, like, the whole sweatshop industry. And the reason why I don't know where I stand is because obviously it's a terrible thing. People aren't being paid fair wages, people are overworking in hours, but also that industry is one of the biggest industries for those countries. Like the country that I come from, in Bangladesh, working in a sweatshop would definitely get you more pay than working on a farm. And the thrift stores and the stores that make these clothes are the biggest industries that support the economy of the country. So I really don't know where I stand on it. And I would rather not be involved in it, very much like the veganism thing. Like, I don't really want to consume animal meat because I personally don't think that it's necessary for me, but also I don't think it's morally wrong to eat animals, so I kind of do somewhere in the middle. So I'll have limited meat, but I'll also, mostly consume plants or plant-based meats. So yeah, I like going to thrift stores and trying to see what I can get. Also, it's really cheap and my budget is really low. So it's just a good in between of the constant moral questions that I have going on in my head. So yeah, that's just I don't even know where that tangent came from, but that's why I shop at thrift stores. It just works for me. I find cool, interesting things. Like I don't think I could have bought this at a Primark or an H&M. I find really interesting pieces. There's also a cardigan I got that looks really cool. It's like in a military style. I got a cool leather jacket. Like there's always these really interesting pieces that I could get from thrift stores, which I really enjoy. So yeah, it's just great. Um, Next question from Charlie Robertson. I think this is a troll question because I've seen Charlie defend me many times before, so please do not send him any hate. But he asks, why the fuck do you believe that all non-Muslims need to die? Death comes to us all anyway. I don't believe that. It was something that was repeated to me while I was a Muslim, that I believe that all non-Muslims should die. But I think I've always been empathetic enough to be like, no, I don't think they should die. I just think they're going to burn in hell after they die. Which, it could be argued is equally as horrible. But no, it's just, I don't know. It gets said to me much more now that I think that all Muslims should die, or Islam should be abolished, or, Muslims shouldn't exist anymore. I don't think that I think that. I certainly don't agree with Islam. I think that a lot of things are weird in Islam, and a lot of things are just really problematic with Islam. But I don't necessarily think that Muslims are going anywhere. And I've said in many videos that I'm not here to steal anybody's faith. I'm just here to share an experience and talk about what I learned and, debunk things that people might claim, like when I talked about slavery in Islam, where people were saying that, oh, Islam was the first religion to abolish slavery, or was the first religion to phase out slavery as something, when it wasn't. Or when we talked about pedophilia in Islam, and I made a whole hour-long video about the age of Aisha and Muhammad's pedophilia. I like talking about it because it's just something that I spent so much of my life on. Another thing that I spent a lot of my life on was history. I learned a lot of British history. When I was in school, I studied Anglo-Saxons, I studied Vikings, I studied Tudors, Henry VIII, Henry VII as well, the War of the Roses, and stuff like that. So once I get a chance to talk about it, it's kind of difficult to just be like, well, that's not important, because it was something that I genuinely invested my time into, and it's just something that I like talking about. So it's got very little to do with me trying to convert people out of religion. I don't think that that's realistic. I think that at the end of the day, people will believe in what they want to believe. And that's fine, as long as you're not forcing it into someone else's throat. It's completely fine. And I think that just the sharing and the flow of ideas is really, really important for us as human beings. But moving on, from Cardiff Atheist, who is he was my first patron, and his handle on Twitter is @SecularHitchens. I really, really appreciate him as a user. He was my first patron. He's always given me that real push to keep going. And yeah, he asks, do you think Islam will ever have a reformation? I don't know. Islam is a very difficult religion to reform. It's unlike Christianity in the sense that Christianity didn't really have a political aspect within its doctrine. Islam has a very, very political aspect within its doctrine, and Muhammad had a lot of political things that he did. He was a leader, he was a warlord, he, was the leader of a tribe. He came from a very prominent tribe. So that part of Islam, the political aspect of Islam, is very, very difficult to just dismantle. The Sharia law, for example, is a very, very it's very political in its implementation and, how you manage it. So the reformation would have to come from Muslims as opposed to within the doctrine. I don't think that changing the doctrine will stand, since the majority of Muslims agree on certain things, like the Quran can't be changed and the Hadith are sacred. So things like that would be very, very difficult to change. But I do believe in people, and I do believe we're seeing a reform in the mindset of Muslims and how they go about proselytizing. I don't know. I think that, I'm an educator, I work in schools. All the young Muslims that I've met have no real interest in telling people that things are right and wrong or what they should believe. Obviously, there are people who will talk about their religion in a very positive light, and I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing, because they're sharing the positive things and also denying that there's any negative things, which indicates to me that they don't accept the negative parts of their religion. And to me, what that says is that that's a small kind of reform. But on the whole, whether or not Islam will be reformed, I have no idea. It's just, I don't know. But moving on, he also asks, will the young throw the yoke off their backs? I do think they will, because I think the young are a lot more globalized now. They have access to the internet, they have non-Muslim friends, and for those of you who aren't aware, the reason that I left Islam was because I came in contact with non-Muslims and realized that they weren't these barbaric heathens that just wanted to rape and pillage everything. I think that exposure to different kinds of people definitely, throws away the need to be solid Muslim and otherizing other people. My main concern is young Muslims, very young Muslim boys and girls being encapsulated in Muslim communities and that don't want to integrate at all or don't want any connection with non-Muslims, because that was the kind of situation that I was in. And I was very much indoctrinated to think that, gays, non-Muslims, people who weren't exactly like us were just doomed, and they were terrible people, and I shouldn't have any connection with them because they would corrupt me. Which arguably maybe they have, I don't know. But it puts you in a mindset of not knowing how other people are, and all you do is read about them, and oftentimes when you do read about them, it's not good things, because the media very rarely highlights good things. It only really highlights the bad things. So I do think that with globalization and access to the internet, young Muslims are realizing that, Muslims aren't the only people in the world who, do good things for people. I think they're slowly realizing that, and I just hope that these really, really, I don't want to call them gated communities, but these really, really isolated communities stop happening. And the revival of the Wahhabi movement is certainly not helpful. But I honestly don't know if it's losing popularity. I hope it is, but I haven't been in that circle for, as you people know, for like 7 years. So I have no idea what's going on in that sphere. So Cardiff Atheist adds, we only hear loudmouth intolerants who despise everything. Yeah, I think people are slowly losing favor for loudmouth intolerance. Even when I was a Muslim, I didn't have any love for Ali Dawah or his ilk or his kind, because I found him as a character very, very arrogant, and that was something that put me off. I don't know many people who love and revere him. So I don't know, but they certainly are loud and they're given a lot of attention, and I'm doing my best and my part not to give them as much attention anymore unless I absolutely have to. So yeah. I think we'll take a little break from this. Oh, I will also like to say that I'm not the biggest fan of beer. I see a lot of people, so as per Q Asked Sinner's question when she asked about alcohol, a lot of people have suggested beer. I'm not a huge fan of beer. I think that beer, while I'll drink it because it's alcohol and I think alcohol is fun, I just don't enjoy it very much. I find it very bitter and very heavy. I prefer ciders because they're a lot sweeter and a lot lighter. It's terrible for your teeth, but it's just lighter than beer, in my opinion. Um, so I'm just going to look into the chat for a little bit, as those were all the Twitter questions. And if you have any questions to add, please let me know. Otherwise, we might close this off a little early. Also, feel free to share this with, your followings, your people. Have people join in the live stream. I don't know where the chat has gone. But yeah. So someone has said that I like Faye when she had a gothic look. That look. The gothic look is not going anywhere. The gothic look is very much my staple look, but I wanted to do like a little girly moment today because my computer was dying and I felt like it needed a funeral. It still may need a funeral. I may get Zara to look at it since she's a computer geek. But yeah, I wanted to do a girly blue and pink look today. So yeah, but Gothic Fae isn't going anywhere because Gothic Fae is just here all the time. That was like one of my obsessions as a young person was the whole gothic look. Like from a young age, I really liked rock music, and then I stopped listening to it for like 5 years. I stopped listening to all music, and then as soon as I started listening to music again, it was just endless tracks from Linkin Park because they are my favorite band and I love them. And please don't fight me on that. I love Linkin Park and I miss Chester Bennington just immensely. But it was like I used to do textiles as a young girl. It was one of the subjects that my school offered because we were only offered cooking and textiles as a D&T subject, as a design technology subject. And in textiles, I would cut out, like, we needed to make storyboards and mood boards. And I would cut out all these like gothic looks. I would cut out ripped jeans, like really dark, smoky eye looks, like black lips and things like that. It was something that I was really into, and it's a culture that I really, really enjoy. So I just, yeah, it's not going anywhere. It's very much a part of my aesthetic, but sometimes we just like changing it up. Even the colored hair, like I'm so happy that I can, like, she's looking a little watered down right now because she's been through a few washes, but it was my dream to have colored hair and short hair and all these like edgy looks. I actually want an edgier look than this. I actually want to like shave the sides and the back of my head so that I have like a man bun look. I might have that for New Year's, so be prepared. You won't talk me out of it. It is my head. I do what I want with it. Just saying. So yeah, the Gothic Fae is not going anywhere. Just, you don't need to worry about it. So for us, Faruqi says, I love Faye, ex-Muslim from South Asian background, are the most bravest people I know. People have no idea. Thank you, Faraz. I really appreciate that. There's a couple of hidden messages. Ahmed Mohammed says, who's the big cunt, guys? I don't want to answer that. So Laura Joseph said, how is your relationship with your parents? That's a tough question because my mother passed away in 2013. She passed away in December of 2013, which is why I've kind of been quiet over Twitter, on YouTube, on everything, because I've just needed the time to process my grief. It took me 5 years to get over the fact that my mom died. It took me a really long time, and I think I'm still kind of getting over it. It's 6 years now. And I'm not completely over it because I genuinely don't think that she'd be happy that I left Islam, that I left my father's house, that I reported my father, like all of those things. I genuinely don't think that she would be happy, but I also don't think that she'd be so inclined to disown me as the rest of my family has. Because while my mother didn't have my mother and I didn't have the closest and strongest relationship in the world. We weren't besties. We still were each other's support systems. Even though we weren't the closest people, I would know things about her before she knew about it, and she would know things about me before I knew it. Like the last few times she got pregnant, I knew she was pregnant before she knew, because I read the signs and I knew how to prepare, and I was aware of it because I was so I was just in tune with my mother. We were each other's support systems. We were women suffering together. So I don't know what my mother's relationship with me would be right now. I think in an idealistic way, because I can't ever know. She's dead. Um, I think in an idealistic way, I think I would still have some communication with her, like we would call or whenever she needed something or something like that. But I really don't know. But in terms of my father, I haven't had contact with my father since 2015. I've seen him a few times since, and I didn't want to. I still don't want to. I've made a video about my daddy issues, and that sounds really shady. I understand that because I think daddy issues is just one of those psychological things that just has a reputation for being oddly sexual. But it's not like that at all. It is something that deeply affects me, and I don't know exactly how to navigate it because it's very difficult for me to talk about because my dad was my best friend. When I still had contact with him. And in many ways, I was his best friend because he would push people away. And I was, the person who stuck around until he almost killed me. And then I absolutely had to leave. And I was heartbroken about it. I still am heartbroken about it. And because my father's also quite old, he must be in his 60s now. I've thought about how I would feel if he was actually on his deathbed or if he was to die. And I don't know if I would be in a forgiving mood, if I would be in an angry mood, in just a very vengeful mood, and I would want to say to his face that I'm never going to forgive you on his deathbed. Like, I don't know. And I've run that scenario in my mind a lot of times, and it's just difficult for me to figure out. In terms of how my dad feels about me, I have no idea. I have no idea. I've heard it said that he wants to make amends, but he's also the kind of person that never changes. And there's very little use in trying to make amends when you don't change or you don't want to change. And he is one of those people. He's had a negative relationship with every single woman in his life. He's extremely narcissistic. I suspect that he has some form of psychosis. But he won't see a professional, so he's not going to get any help for it. And it's just, yeah, it's shit. It's what I'm trying to say. Laura Joseph also said do a makeup tutorial. I've done a few get ready with me videos. Go and check them out. I don't consider myself a makeup guru because I kind of just do whatever. And I also, like, even though this looks like a full face of makeup, I don't wear a full face of makeup. Like, I don't put on foundation. I don't put on concealer. Not unless I'm really trying to impress somebody or I'm going to a special event. I just don't. It's just powders. This is just powders and some lip gloss. Like, that's it. But I mean, I've done quite a few get readies with me. I don't know what to call them, where I put on some makeup and I just talk about random things. So if you want to go see those, you can. I wanted to do one for New Year's Eve, but I don't know if I'll be in the mood to do one New Year's Eve, especially since my computer's having some problems and I need to sort it out because all of my uni work is on this and I really can't afford a new computer. But thank you for the suggestion. Look, makeup tutorials are fun. Like, just doing makeup videos if I could live off that, that would be the dream because it's the most fun and I enjoy makeup a lot. But if you guys have any other questions, let me know. Quite a few people have come back to me saying what I should do about my laptop. I'll get back to you guys in a sec after the live stream. But it was so stressful dealing with that because I don't know much about computers, but I'm very good at like researching and trying to figure out what I need to do for my computer. And I've had my fair share of like very difficult computers to work with. So the first laptop I had was like Windows 95, like that was the processing system. It was like this thick. The laptop itself, And that one actually, it got so used to being plugged in that I couldn't actually use it as a laptop. I just had to use it as if it was a tower, like it was a full computer, because I would always have to plug it in. And then after a while, I can't remember who did what, but the Wi-Fi, like the Wi-Fi receptor, I don't know if it's called that. I'm not a computer person, but the thing that receives the Wi-Fi in the laptop stopped working, so I couldn't even use it with the internet. I could only use it for like word processing and playing Minesweeper and Solitaire. So I used to write a lot of my stories on there, and then I would like just keep it on my laptop. But after that, I had a HP laptop, which was just the worst piece of garbage. Like, I hated it. It was really small. It was really cute. It was my brother's, but he got a new laptop, so I just took it before I left the house. And it just kept crashing every so often. It just kept crashing, and I needed to use a dongle so that it could receive Wi-Fi also. And now I've gotten this laptop, which is huge, and it's refurbished. So she's an old lady. She really is. And I'm trying to treat her gingerly and gently. Like, the only thing I do with that, like, I don't watch anything on her. I don't watch YouTube. I don't watch Netflix. I don't do anything on her but word processing and uploading my my uni work and using Twitter when I do live streams. Like, I'm treating her so gingerly because I don't want anything to happen to her. But she's still having problems, so I don't know what to do with her. And I'm just hoping that this isn't the end, but I am going to hand this in to Zara to see if she can do something with her, and make sure that everything is okay. And so, yeah. People are saying that that's probably not a good sign, that she's getting the blue screen of death, so it might be time for a new laptop. I don't know. But I'm gonna check the chat again. I think a few people have commented since. So for us, Faruqi said, do you ever feel the need to connect to your Bangladeshi roots? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Because my Bangla, so the language that I used to speak at home, my Bangla has been getting progressively worse because I'm not speaking Bangla with anyone. I used to be the most fluent in my family of, like, my cousins and of the kids. I used to be the most fluent. When I went back to Bangladesh, my accent was on point. I had a very Sylheti accent. So I it's like driving me crazy. I've been watching like Sylheti natoks, or like dramas. So a lot of sitcoms come out of Sylhet, which is the area of Bangladesh where I'm from. And I've been watching a lot of them just to try and retain my language. And I really, really, really need to just find a Bengali friend that I can speak to in Bangla. And I just haven't found that. Like, I have Bengali friends. But they're either not Sylheti or they don't speak Bangla. So it's just something that I'm trying to figure out right now. He also adds, it must be hard since Islam is so entrenched in the culture, although Hinduism is too. Yeah, that's what I've realized. I actually made a video about it. So let me see if I can find it, and I'll link it in the chat. But I made a video centered around identity politics, because it's just something that I don't like talking about, because I find it really dumb. And the things that we are born as, I don't think should define us. But unfortunately, it is something that it's an easy way of defining us. So while it's not something that I particularly enjoy, it is something that is important to a lot of people. Hi, Julie, welcome. So I made a video just surrounded and centered on identity politics, and I'm gonna see if I can find it so I can link it in the chat. And it's all about me talking about my struggle with my culture. And one of the things that I identified about me and my culture is that a lot of it is just entrenched in religion. A lot of the people who are Bengali, are Muslim, and when they find out you're not Muslim, it really drives a wedge between you and them. So I found it really difficult to integrate, but joining ex-Muslim ex-Muslim groups and connecting with people who are Bengali, it has helped me sort of retain some of that. Like I went to a Mela this year, it was a lot of fun. I also want to get back into cooking my traditional food, which is something that I've just not done over the years because it's either been too difficult or it's been too expensive. Like that's it. But I do want to get back into it. I want to, get all those spices and get back into the mold of that. I also want to start sewing again, which again, it's not a Bengali thing, but it was something that I used to do in my free time with my mum. It was like a bonding activity for us. So it's just, yeah, it's just getting used to a new way of living. Welcome, Malik. Um, Ahmed Onan says do more live streams. I'm trying to do a live stream once a week. And you guys are gonna have to give me topics for live streams because this one's like fun and simple and I can do this in my sleep because it's just hi, ask me some questions. But I also used to do a set of live streams around a topic or just talking about Islam or whatever you guys want. In the future, once I make a little bit more money and I save up a little bit more, I want to get a gaming laptop or computer or just a computer that I can actually play games on so we can do live streams while I game. And I think that could be fun as well because I love video games. Like you can't see them, but there's posters all around this room. Witcher, which came out on Netflix and I watched every episode of, is one of my favorite franchises. I've read all the books. I've watched the last game played. I played the second game. So it's, video games and also Assassin's Creed. Well, I don't have a poster and I've been reminded to get one. Assassin's Creed was another franchise that I was really invested in, although the games have gone downhill in recent years. So yeah. So if in future I do get something like a machine to play video games on, I would love to do video game live streams, just because I think that those would be fun. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what live streams we can do in the future. Laura Joseph asks, what advice can you give me? My father is a deadbeat, so I don't care about him, but my mother has become more and more extremely religious. She is the type to emotionally abuse and not change. Should I move far away or try to fix our relationship? Quite honestly, Laura, it's really up to you. I think that once people set their mind on religion and it gets to the point where they won't change, I think it's good to distance yourself from that just a little bit. I'm not saying that you have to move far away and completely, remove communication, but I am saying that that kind of toxicity can really negatively affect you, and I don't think that that's just a healthy way to be. And it's also not healthy for, young children and things like that. So if you have children, I would remove them from that situation. But I think that the best way to fix a relationship is through communication and letting your mother know how you feel about what's going on in, your life and how you feel and, how you want to move forward. So I would encourage communication. I would encourage, bonding activities. So like with my mother, it was sewing and cooking. Those were things that we used to do together. So if there's anything that you and your mother enjoy doing together, do those things, communicate, if you need to argue. It's better than not saying what you feel. But I mean, I don't know all the ins and outs of your relationship, so I don't really... All right, I think we're back. I think it's worked. I don't know. I don't even remember what I was saying because I feel like I got cut off. But okay, thank you, Nerdy Rodent. Okay, so it's working. Yeah, I don't know exactly what's going on with the live stream. It's just everything. I'm having technical difficulties everywhere. But yeah, I think everybody just ejected as soon as it stopped working. But welcome back, guys. So yeah, as I was saying, just because I don't know all the ins and outs of your relationship with your parents and what's going on. I don't know what to advise exactly. I think it's really difficult, and I think that it probably is worth talking back to someone who has insight into the situation or explaining the situation to an outsider. So even if you wanted to DM me, for example, responding to DMs at the moment. I think I'm taking a whole break until after New Year's. Um, but it would be good for you to not necessarily involve a third party, but talk to a third party to get an outsider perspective, and to, discuss all the nitty gritties and the finer points of the relationship. I think that could be useful. But yeah, if there is abuse involved, be that physical, emotional, if it's neglect, if it's sexual, if it's any kind of abuse, I would say get out of that situation. It's just not healthy for anyone. It's certainly not healthy for the abuser to be enabled in that way, and it's not healthy for the person who's being abused at all, obviously. So yeah, I hope that's helpful. Laura Joseph asked later on, do I follow ex-Muslim groups on Reddit or Facebook? I'm actually not part of any Reddit ex-Muslim group. Well, I follow them and I read the posts from time to time, but I don't really post on Reddit. I follow a few Facebook groups, but again, also I don't use Facebook very often. I just use it for organizing events and sometimes to connect with friends that I don't have any other social media of. But there are quite a few ex-Muslim groups on Reddit and Facebook, and I would sincerely advise that you meet ex-Muslims in person, because that's the best way of being connected. While I do appreciate the internet and the way that it brings people together, I still think that in-person, connections and relationships are the best kind that you can get. So I would sincerely advise that you meet ex-Muslims, in person upfront, instead of just hanging out in forums and groups and chat rooms. I'm not trying to be a boomer. I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm just explaining my experience because the experience is completely different. But yeah, thank you all for those of you who joined me after my live stream just fell over and died. But yeah, I'm not sure why it froze, and I'm hoping it doesn't freeze again. But thank you all for joining me again. It's good to have you here. Welcome Critical Cripple, welcome Nerdy Rodent, and thank you to Junk Shop Library for being the mod of this session. I really appreciate it. He sprinkled a bunch of links throughout the live stream, and it's been fun. I don't know if I should close out. I want to close out in about 6 minutes. I need to meet someone later today. But if anybody has any last minute questions, please let me know and we'll get onto them. So I've got another question from Twitter, and it's from TL or NRI Classic. He says, have you ever contacted Muhammad through a Ouija board? And if he did show up, did that little shit try to hit on you? I've never actually used a Ouija board. I've never had any interest in it. I know that from QI, which is a show here we have in the UK, which used to be hosted by Stephen Fry, and we all deeply miss him. Ouija boards actually started as a board game in the 80s or the 70s, and then later became like a ghost medium thing. It wasn't originally meant to be like a cursed demonic thing. So I've never actually had any interest in it. I do have some interest in trying other kind of like spiritual things, and it's like just a curiosity interest. Like, it's not a deep, like, I believe in this and I want to know more about it kind of interest. It's just like oh, that's quirky, I want to try that kind of interest. For those of you who caught the live stream, it's no longer online, but for those of you who caught the live stream where I was with my best friend Alicia, we were celebrating 1,000 subscribers. I read her palms because I got a palm reading kit, and I actually still want my palms read by a professional. I want to go see a psychic and see what they read about me. It's just a passing curiosity in, you know, things that I'm interested in. I've always been interested in the weird and the wonderful. If you guys know any online psychics, if you know any of those, please get them in contact with me. I'd be more than happy to do a live online reading because I feel like that would be fun. Yeah, the full woo treatment. Like, I also want to. Well, I was opposed to it completely. If you asked me like a year ago, I was completely opposed to it. But now I actually really want to spend time in a haunted house just to feel like, maybe not an entire night because I'm still terrified, but I still want to understand the feeling of fear because for those of you who don't know, I'm studying psychology. I'm doing my psychology degree, and there's actually a lot of research into why people believe in ghosts and how the fear aspect factors into that. Like, it's really, really interesting. And I mean, while I don't consider myself someone knowledgeable or has all the knowledge, I do think that it would be interesting, while knowing all those things, whether or not I would still be absolutely fucking terrified of being in a haunted house. Pluckley is meant to be the most haunted place. I don't know where that is. Send me the details. Maybe when I visit Scotland sometime this in 2020, I'll find some haunted house areas. Scotland had a lot of shady shit going on in the Victorian era, so they must have a lot of haunted places. So yeah, I would be interesting to check that out. But in terms of a Ouija board, never had any interest in it because the origins were always, it's a board game. I really want to see if I can go to a psychic, Julie, and let them read me, but also me record it. I think that would be super interesting. I also need money for that because shit like that is not cheap. But once I do get the money to get that treatment, I want to see what they come up with, because while I don't kind of doesn't mean anything that I say it now. While I don't fully believe in the zodiac, for example, I do think that there's things that I can take from it. So I'm an Aquarius, like my birthday's coming up. I'm an Aquarius, so I still hold that as a standard, if that makes sense. Like, I take all the positives, the ones that apply to me anyway, and I kind of boost my confidence with it. And I take all the negatives and I see if they apply to me, and then I work on them. For example, Aquariuses aren't good at opening up about their emotions, and up until recently, that was me. I was terrible about opening up about my emotions, and I've worked on it significantly, and I think that it's something that I've really improved on. So while I don't want to say I believe in it, but I do spend a lot of time thinking about it, and I don't see that as a negative thing because it's only the way that I've sort of taken it is in a very positive direction. Does that make sense? Oh, that might be interesting, but I don't want to pretend to be a different star sign because I love the Aquarius sign. I really, really also like the Aries sign, and I see how much it applies to me. I don't think, again, it's very much in my head. It's very much a delusion because it's just a number of adjectives that are vague enough that they fit almost anybody. But yeah, it's just fun. I like going through it. I don't necessarily enjoy the horoscopes because they feel like bullshit to me whenever I read them, but it's interesting to read up, and it's also a really easy way to just categorize people and understand how people are. Like, I was dating this guy recently, well, not so recently that it was like yesterday, but like within like the last 2 months, who was very openly a Cancer. He had a Cancer tattoo on his arm. And for those of you who don't know, that's the zodiac sign with the crab. I didn't know too much about it, but my mother was a Cancer, so my immediate thought is, oh, this guy's going to have a lot of traits that my mother had. And funny enough, he did. He was, well, the one thing that I know about Cancers is that they're overly emotional, and they're very in touch with their feelings. So I don't I don't know. I think it's weird and it's wonderful, and it's the same way that I have a fascination with mythology. Like, I really enjoy mythology, particularly Norse mythology. And while I don't believe it's true, I think there's things that I can certainly take from it. The outsider test for astrology. So being a different star sign. Should I be the opposite sign to what I am? I think that might be interesting. And if I just pretend to be that, and if it changes anything, I don't think it will, because I think deep down I know that it's fake. Even just not even deep down, just down. I know that it's fake, but it's still something that I spend a lot of time on. And I don't even wish that I didn't, because it's genuinely fun. I genuinely have fun with it. Um, and I've been told off by many people for the ways that I think, because the people that I've spent time with, Cancers are not the best. Aquarius women are the best. Anyways, um, the kind of circles that I've fallen into in the last year. So a lot of atheist circles, a lot of philosophical circles, a lot of ex-Muslim circles, just all these different circles that are just so big brain and so like intelligent and smart, and they know all these things. And I'm just like a 24-year-old absolute fucking idiot. I've been told off for the ways that I think. Not necessarily, well, yeah, actually I've been told off. Because the way that I think is very much outside of the box. I think a lot of the people that I hang out with are very analytical, very factual, whereas me, I'm just an artist. Like, I think in artsy ways, and I'm open to everything, even the craziest things. Like, I've been told off because I said that I wanted to see a psychic, and I got lectured for that. You know, I have a very nihilistic outlook on life, and I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. I've been told off for that. You know, I have this idea in my head that it doesn't really matter if I take care of my health. Well, I do. I do my best to take care of my health, especially my mental health. But I do have it in my head that it doesn't really matter because my mother died at 40, and that just is in my head. And I've been told off for using that anecdotal story as opposed to following scientific evidence. It's just like, I think that the world is so chaotic that most of the things that we think about and most of the things we do really don't fucking matter. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. For me, it's an easy way to get away from, you know, things that I fail at or make mistakes, because ultimately, on a grander scale, it doesn't fucking matter. But if I actually make something out of my life, especially this from the start that I was given, it's a, you know, it really speaks to the kind of person I am and the kind of things that I'm capable of. So I don't know. It's been a weird year. It's definitely been a broadening of all my friend groups and all the people that I know. Like Carl, who's a very, very close friend to me now. I've said it so many times, but he does a lot of the videos for the Council of Ex-Muslims. He's not an ex-Muslim, but he is non-religious. He's an atheist. He's a very, very close friend to me right now, and you know, I've been lectured by him for wanting to go and see a palm reader or a psychic. He's just told me, oh, just go and watch Darren Brown. But the thing is, I want to experience it in person because I want to feel the energies, and I want to sit there and I want to be conned and see if I fall for it. It's the same way where you watch a movie or you watch WWE and you know that it's fake, but you still enjoy it because it's an experience, right? You know, as someone who's a writer, as someone who's an artist, as someone who essentially lies to present a truth, you know, vicariously through this lie, it's something that I, you know, just want to try. And I think that a lot of people with the new circles that I've found aren't really open to that, and they think that that's ridiculous because it's fake, so why should you want to do it? It's just something that I want to experience. I just went off on like a 20-minute rant about that. But Julie Love Voice says a lot of atheists came through a combination of emotional and rational reasons. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with going through the Nerdy Rodent says nothing wrong with going through the experience, especially going in with a skeptical mind. Yeah, it's kind of, well, in Amsterdam, we did a lot of recreational things. And, you know, when I was a Muslim, even after like a year or so after I had come out of that and I wasn't a Muslim anymore, I was very against drugs, you know, any kind of drug. I was against alcohol. I was against weed. I was against everything. I think that they were all terrible things, but I also didn't know anything about them. And now, being an educator, I understand that I have to understand those things. So when I was in Amsterdam, I did do a lot of recreational things. I'm not going to say them explicitly, but we did some recreational things, and some of them were pleasant, some of them were very mediocre, and some of them were just, not for me. And I'm glad I had those experiences. Um, you know, the biggest thing that I've learned. Oh my God, my nose is leaking for some reason. Am I bleeding? I don't think so. Um, One of the biggest things that I came away from when I left religion was that this is the only life I get. So why not experience things if they're not life threatening? And, statistically, I'm not going to die from doing what I'm doing. Why not just see what it's about? And I think you know, I think it's just the way that I want to live. Like, I don't want to live without not knowing something. I've said many times that I'll try everything once. And it's opened me to a lot of experiences. It's opened me to fun hairstyles and fun clothes and, really, really wonderful memories that I think I'm going to hold on to for, if not forever, for a really long time. And I'm going to hold very well. I'm a deeply sentimental person. I know you can't see my room, but if you saw the state of it, you'd know I'm a deeply sentimental person. Because I like having my memories around me. I think it's one of the things that pulls me down sometimes because I find it very difficult to let go of things that I felt and I experienced in the past. But it's also something that is deeply meaningful to me. The things that I have done, the things that I've accomplished, the things that I didn't accomplish and want to accomplish in future, the places that I've been, the people that I've met, the relationships I've had, like all of those things are just so meaningful to me, more so now than they ever were when I was religious. And I think that that's the biggest takeaway I've had from religion. That was a big tangent from just talking about Ouija boards. But it's been an hour. I don't know if you want me to close out. If you have any final questions, I'll be answering them in like the next 2 to 3 minutes. And then we'll just close off. For those of you who've stuck around for this long, please don't forget to like this live stream, subscribe if you enjoyed the live stream. I try to do them once every week, and I try to release 1 or 2 videos a week as well. My content is going to have not so much a shift, but some, additions. I think I want to try some new things. If you want to look for me on my other social media pages, all of it's in the description. And Junk Shop Library, who is the moderator of this live stream, is doing his best to link everything as I speak. So thank you for being the moderator of this live stream, Junk Shop Library. And for the rest of you, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening to me talk for an hour. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it was insightful. I hope it was educational. I hope you got whatever you were expecting to get from it. And if there's any last few things that you want me to talk about, let me know. I think we'll go on for another minute and then we'll close off. But genuinely, thank you for being here. It's always fun doing a live stream, and going forward, I want to do more of them. And more types. So if you have types or a way to fund me getting a gaming computer, please let me know, because that would be fun. So yeah, thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next live stream.